Hello folks, welcome to OTD, also known as On the Deck, where you can get all the sports you need in 10 minutes. My name is Adam Morduna, this is my mom Gina.
He's a journalist.
She's the enthusiast.
I am enthusiastic because there's a lot of sports going on.
Yes.
And I'm feeling better, so I have my enthusiasm.
Yes,
I was out here looking terrible last week.
Well, you're still in recovery from your surgery, so every time's going to get a little bit better.
Correct.
So, that's okay.
Yes, I'm ready to go.
We're glad that you are still joining us right now. We've got a lot of things we do want to talk about, but we're going to just talk about the postseason for basketball today in this episode. We're going to talk about all the tournaments that we've been giving you updates on since March has started.
Well, let me stop you real quick.
Okay.
I watch a lot of sports talk.
Yes.
And my son is one of the few people who covered the CBI and the CIT and brought you updates. Just say it.
Yes,
go ahead, dear.
We are going to talk about the CIT and the CBI, as Mom just said, and then we're going to talk about the NIT, which is also a big-time tournament, plus the men's and women's NCAA tournament as well. This has been a full March.
Man, it was.
We've had a lot of ups and downs and different parity and different things going on. Upsets, bracket busters, and then some not so surprising things have also taken place. And so let's talk about the CIT.
Okay.
It's a tournament that's not really publicized like some of the other tournaments are. But it's a postseason tournament.
Yep.
And it's more for the mid-majors or low-level Division I schools to get in if they haven't made it to the NCAA tournament or they haven't qualified for the NIT or the CBI, really. It's kind of just, hey, this is still a postseason tournament.
Well, and it's an invitational tournament, so it's not like, hey, losers, come play. They invite you. They have a committee.
You still have to be invited, and there's still a big ceremony once you win and things like that, so it's a big deal.
Yes.
And so we made it to the point where now we're at the championship rounds for all of these tournaments, and the CIT finally got to a resolution. We have St. Peter's against Texas A&M Corpus Christi. Apparently it was a really good game. I didn't get a chance to fully indulge in it because I was doing a bunch of other stuff as well, but I was keeping the updates, and it apparently was a really good game. Corpus Christi fought them tooth and nail. They only lost by 1 point. St. Peter's was a good team. I do know that they were good this year. And Corpus Christi, it was a good matchup, but Corpus Christi lost by 1 point. They had home field advantage as well, but they couldn't pull it out. And so that was...
So the CIT was St. Peter's over Corpus Christi.
Yes, okay.
Well, the CBI, which is another invitational tournament, and that's, I don't want to say it's up a level, but, you know, it's not quite the NIT, not the CIT, kind of in the middle of that. And that featured Wyoming and Coastal Carolina, and they have that unique format where it's a best 2 out of 3. And so Coastal Carolina took the first one, Wyoming took the second one, but they had home court advantage. And so they played that championship game in Wyoming, and Wyoming won.
They did win, yes.
Pretty handily.
They did, exactly. And it's kind of cool how they do their finals with the 2 out of the 3, best 2 out of the 3. It gives you kind of an extra game to pull one out if you lost that first one. And there's only 16 teams, and so you really get a chance to see everyone, and that's awesome. So congratulations to St. Peter's for winning the CIT and Wyoming for winning the CBI. So let's talk about the NIT.
Yes, let's talk about the NIT.
We had 2 pretty big-time schools
in
this one. We had TCU.
Well, because they're from power conferences.
Yes, exactly. TCU out of the Big 12, and then Georgia Tech out of the ACC. And both of those schools are doing very well. They've got newer coaches, and they're really trying to turn those basketball programs around. And that's really awesome to have any of your teams playing any postseason tournament.
Absolutely. And I think the NIT this year, like we talked about this earlier, it was all the games were broadcast on ESPN, which really helped. It was a great kickoff week. And as it got down to they call it semifinals instead of Final Four, which, you know, I think that's trademarked by the NCAA. But those were really good games. And there were a lot of power conference teams represented. Syracuse was in there, obviously, you know, TCU, but Georgia, I think Indiana ended up at the NIT, Iowa. There were really good big schools that ended up in the NIT, and when you get 2 power conference teams playing in the finals, I think that brings a lot of buzz. But the Big 12 came out victorious. I was going to tap my hat, but I don't have my hat on. I always wear my Big 12 hat, but so congratulations, TCU.
Yeah, TCU came out with the victory, and they're now the 2017 NIT champions.
Yeah, Big 12.
And so congratulations to them. they ended their season on a high note.
Well, the 2 high notes, because they took out KU in the Big 12 tournament.
Yes.
And then went and won the NIT.
They did.
That's something to build on. If
Correct.
you're that coach trying to recruit, there you got some tools there.
That's nice, and they will be happy to be celebrating down there in the Fort Worth area. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about the big tournaments here. The NCAA tournament for the men's and women's side of things. We've got South Carolina, who did end up taking home the championship.
Yes, they did.
But the big caveat in this whole thing was the team that they ended up playing in the championship.
Yes.
And to everyone's surprise, it was not UConn women's basketball.
No.
They got shocked. They got upset in the Final Four against Mississippi State on the last-second buzzer beater, and it really shook up some things in the women's game, because everyone just assumed that UConn was going to win and walk through, and everyone did, including myself. It's hard to bet against them when they're winning as many games as they do, in the fashion that they win their games. And so it was one of those situations where you're like, wow, is this a joke? You know, it happened on basically April Fool's. You know, is this April Fool's joke?
Was.
Or what happened?
You know, it's interesting because that Final Four was South Carolina with Don Staley and Stanford versus Stanford, and then you had Mississippi State versus UConn. So pretty much, I would have, looking at that draw, I would have called, I think I might have called it UConn versus South Carolina. I thought Don Staley could get Stanford, and she did.
Yeah.
Nobody, and you lying if you say you were, picked Mississippi State over UConn. You just didn't. They had no, like, the power, you know, they give you like percent chance.
Yeah.
They had like a 0.12% chance to beat them. And let's be clear, it wasn't that UConn played bad. Mississippi State beat them. They took it to them. They took them out of their game.
Yeah.
They out-rebounded them. They outshot them. And they got a little girl. She's 5'5". She's not a girl, young woman.
Yeah.
5'5". I mean, this is mighty when you look at her out on the court. With some of these girls are 6'5", 6'6", and she's 5'5", and the baby shot the lights out last second in overtime.
Yes.
But apparently UConn doesn't like to go to overtime. They get tired. So they didn't do well.
You know, and you don't really play your game. You don't have to really play your games when you win like they do.
Right.
After the first half is basically over. So
well, you know, I'd like to spend a whole lot of time talking about UConn basketball.
Well, anyways, we just were saying that within the championship round, we expected UConn to be in it, and they did not. They got beat. And so congratulations to South Carolina and Don Staley. She brought a program that had won 20 games in the last 10 years to now they're national champions.
Yes, and she's going to take over women's USA basketball for the Olympics
team as well. So it's really awesome. We love Don Staley. Congratulations to them. And so Carolina to Carolina, North Carolina, South Carolina to North Carolina. North Carolina on the men's side beat Gonzaga last night. They are now the 2017 NCAA Division I champions. And they had their slogan all year, or their word for the season, was redemption, after they lost in the last seconds last year
to Villanova.
And so they had a lot on their mind from that championship in Houston that they very well could have won. They could be back-to-back champions as far as I'm concerned.
You know how hard it is to get back-to-back into the championship game? I mean, Roy Williams deserves all the credit in the world. But I think the feel-good story, just like on the women's side, was Mississippi State. On the men's side, it was our boy, our friend, my cousin, Frank Martin.
Frank Martin.
Okay, he's not my cousin, but I'm a huge fan. He was the head coach at K-State.
Correct.
And, you know, we talked about it already. He left us.
He's a great coach.
But he's an amazing guy, and he loves his guys. And at the end, I was so cool to see a coach cry.
Yeah.
You know, I don't love to see grown men cry, but that's that emotional release that women understand. See, when we have emotion, we let it out. Men tend to hold it in, but when you love your players and you've been in the trenches and you fought back, and this was their, I think, first ever Final Four appearance, and you got them there, and like he said, he just broke down saying, knowing I'm not going to get to be these guys' coach anymore. Frank Martin, you just won over America. You won everybody's hearts. It was, you gave a great effort.
Great man, great coach. So congratulations to all the teams that make it to the Final Fours. Exactly.
So who was it? It was North Carolina and Kentucky, and then it was Gonzaga and
North Carolina, Oregon, Kentucky,
rather.
And
I keep throwing Kentucky in there. North Carolina, Oregon,
Gonzaga, and South Carolina.
There you go. I don't know why I want to keep just throwing.
That's all right. Well,
because I had Kentucky.
Had them going, so
that's why.
Well, congratulations to North Carolina and South Carolina, to St. Peter's, and to TCU,
and
along with Wyoming, for winning all the championships. That's awesome. It was a great postseason. Now we've got the NBA to kind of focus on here as that continues to unfold, and we got a lot more to come from there.
Yes.
And we'll just continue to keep you updated.
Congratulations to all the winners.
Yes, congratulations. And
your one shining moment.
Exactly, exactly. Well, we want to say we appreciate your time, folks, and we'll see you next time.